Long before the calamity-scarred Exandria, the distant continent of Vaelora thrived across the seas. It was a place where the veil between planes grew thin, where portals to realms of fire, shadow, and starlight stood open beneath the sky. Great peoples rose and fell there, their lives intertwined with the powers that flowed freely from beyond the world. But when the calamity raged and threatened to unravel all creation, the gods intervened. To prevent the chaos of the plains from consuming Exandria, they cast a great shroud over Vaelora, a wall of storms and fog, woven with divine magic. Cut off from the rest of the world, its people endured in isolation, guarding what remained of the ancient gateways. Legends say the veil was both a prison and a shield, keeping the secrets of the land hidden and safe. For centuries, sailors spoke only of shattered ships and lost fleets, swallowed whole when they sought to cross the storm-racked seas. Few returned, and those who did told tales of strange lights on the horizon and voices carried on the wind. Vaelora became a myth, a warning whispered in taverns and mapped only in the margins of old charts. Now, the veil has begun to thin. Ships that once broke upon endless storms have found safe passage. The Dwendalian Empire has planted its banners on these distant shores, eager to claim its riches and unlock its secrets. But beyond the foothold of civilization lie wild frontiers, ancient guardians, untamed creatures, and powers older than history itself. And at the edge of this frontier lies Stonecross, a rugged coastal settlement perched upon cliffs battered by endless waves. Born from shipwrecks and hardened by storms, it is a place of iron wills and weary eyes, where settlers, smugglers, and dreamers gather to carve out new lives. This is Stonecross. And this is the Veil.
Session 1. The world is already burning. Ash falls like snow, drifting through a forest consumed by flame. Ancient trees groan before collapsing into roaring infernos, their branches scattering embers into the blackened sky. 4 warriors sprint through the blazing woodland. Behind them, the earth trembles. Once, twice, again. Each thunderous footstep sends shock waves racing through the forest floor. No one dares look back. A deafening roar echoes through the trees. Then a mass of black stone wrapped in molten fire tears through the smoke. It crashes into the ground beside 3 of the fleeing warriors, exploding into burning fragments. Flames wash over them as they stumble forward, scorched but alive. The 4th, only a few paces away, escapes untouched. The clearing is close. Sunlight breaks through the choking smoke ahead. 3 of the warriors burst from the tree line, but 1 stops. For a single heartbeat, they turn to face whatever horror is pursuing them. Then they charge. The forest erupts. An immense obsidian limb smashes through the burning trees. The lone warrior leaps, driving twin enchanted blades into the creature's leg before climbing higher and higher, each strike carrying them toward its shoulders. The beast barely slows. With one final leap, the warrior reaches its head and buries both blades deep into its flesh. The titan finally reacts. A hand larger than a house closes around the warrior. They are torn free and hurled across the battlefield, crashing into the open ground of the clearing with tremendous force. From the far side of the clearing, 3 more champions emerge through the smoke. Their armor bears symbols from an age long forgotten. Without hesitation, they race toward the others. Meanwhile, another warrior climbs the tallest tree overlooking the clearing. From its highest branches, the true scale of the nightmare becomes clear. The forest behind the Titan is an endless sea of fire stretching to the horizon. Only fragments of the creature can be seen through the smoke. A colossal obsidian body split by rivers of molten light, horns disappearing into the ash-filled sky, and eyes that burn brighter than the inferno surrounding it. Even from this height, the entire creature cannot be seen. The warrior drops back to the ground. The 6 heroes stand shoulder to shoulder. No words are spoken. Each reaches into a pack. Each withdraws a crystal. One by one, the crystals begin to glow. The first joins the second, then the third, the fourth, the fifth. Their light grows brighter with every piece that locks into place. The trembling stops for one impossible moment. Silence. Then a vast shadow falls across the clearing. Slowly, a colossal foot descends from above. One crystal remains. Hands reach forward. Almost. Darkness. A soft female voice echoes through the void.
Do not let the veil fall. You must protect it, or all realms will break.
Then, a scream, one filled with terror. The darkness fades. The gentle creak of timber replaces the roar of fire. Waves lap softly against the hull of a weathered transport ship as it cuts steadily through calm waters. 3 settlers stand among the passengers, each lost in their own thoughts. One quietly sharpens and reshapes a well-worn weapon, the rhythmic scrape of steel the only sound above the sea. Suddenly, a bell rings across the deck. Land ahead! The call spreads through the crew as passengers hurry above deck. The sight before them is unlike anything they have ever seen. To the left, the veil shimmers across the horizon, an immense wall of swirling magical energy stretching farther than the eye can follow. To the right, towering walls of black water churn beneath violent storms, waves crashing against an invisible barrier with unimaginable force. Yet between these impossible seas lies a single corridor of calm. The ship glides peacefully through the narrow passage. Beyond it, a new world. The rugged coastline of Vaelora rises from the mist. Perched upon a low cliff overlooking the bay, sights the frontier settlement of Stonecross. Smoke curls lazily from scattered chimneys, while fishing boats rock gently beside sturdy wooden docks below. As the vessel eases into port, thick ropes are thrown ashore and tied fast. The journey is over. Settlers begin gathering their belongings before stepping onto the unfamiliar land. A long staircase, carved into the cliffside, winds upward from the docks toward the village above. Each step carries them farther from the safety of the sea and deeper into the Empire's newest frontier. Waiting at the summit stands a broad-shouldered sergeant flanked by a small detail of soldiers. His chainmail is polished but dulled by years of salt air, and his expression leaves little room for conversation. He cracks his knuckles before addressing the newcomers.
Welcome to Stonecross. You've set foot on the edge of the Empire, and out here, there's no room for idleness or dissent. This village stands because every soul pulls their weight, and because we keep order. You'll find no luxuries here, only hard work. Rough seas and neighbors who will judge you by your deeds, not your words. The laws of the Empire hold here, as they do in Rexcentrum. Theft, violence, and treachery won't be tolerated. You break the peace, you'll answer to me and mine. For today, settle in, walk the streets, get a feel for the place. Tomorrow, the clerk at the Hall of Stonecross will take your details. Don't be late, 8 bells sharp. For the night you'll be housed together in a settler's lodge. Consider it a kindness. Space is scarce, and a shared roof breeds accountability. Make it a home if you've the will. Remember this, Stonecross is fragile. Every mistake cuts deeper out here than it would back in the Empire. Do your part, keep your head low, and you might just find this place worth the hardship.
With that, the sergeant turns and leads the settlers through the village. The streets are modest, but alive with purpose. Fishermen unload the day's catch while blacksmiths hammer away in open workshops. Workers call to one another as children dart between stacked crates and weathered buildings. Along the way, two landmarks stand out. The Keel House Inn, bustling with laughter and the smell of fresh cooking. And beyond it, the sturdy stone building known as the Hall of Stonecross, the heart of the settlement's authority. Leaving the center of the village behind, the group reaches a lonely building near the edge of town. Calling it a lodge is generous. The structure is little more than a hastily built wooden hut, its walls patched together from mismatched timber, the roof sagging with age. Inside, 4 narrow beds line the walls, each accompanied by a small storage chest. A single table occupies the center of the room beneath a flickering lantern. Someone is already there. A lone settler looks up as the door opens. The 4th member of the house has arrived. The door creaked shut behind them, muffling the sounds of Stonecross outside. The hut was little more than 4 beds, a rough wooden table, and a single lantern fighting back the darkness. For a moment, nobody spoke. 4 strangers, sharing a roof for the first time. Eventually, the silence was broken. Rowan leaned casually against one of the beds, running a hand through his dark hair before offering an easy smile.
Well, seeing as we're apparently roommates, I'm Rowan, wild magic sorcerer. I've spent most of my life wandering the Empire, trying to work out why reality occasionally decides it doesn't like me.
A grin spread across his face.
Sometimes I explode. Usually not on purpose.
His eyes drifted toward the elderly gnome, already unpacking an alarming amount of strange equipment.
And this little menace is Bam.
The old gnome looked up immediately, placing a hand dramatically against his chest.
Little? I'm perfectly average-sized. For someone considerably smarter than you.
He climbed onto a chair so he could look everyone in the eye.
The name's Bam. Artificer, inventor, occasional wizard, professional problem solver.
He patted several bulging pockets hanging from his coat.
If it breaks, I'll probably fix it. If it explodes,
He shrugged with a mischievous smile.
well, it probably wasn't my fault.
Across the room, the largest of the 4 stood and secured his shield across his back before speaking. His voice was calm and measured.
Lucan Stormbreaker.
A brief silence followed.
I'm the son of Mad Dog.
Even though none of the others recognized the name, there was unmistakable pride in the way he spoke it.
I'm a recruit of the Benevolent Bastards.
He folded his arms.
I'm here to prove myself. That's all there is to know.
The room fell quiet once again, before every eye slowly turned toward the final stranger. Cassian remained seated on his bed, his hood still shadowing much of his face. He looked at each of them for a moment before finally speaking.
Cassian, I arrived yesterday.
Another long pause.
I thought I'd stay.
That was all he offered. The silence returned almost immediately. 4 strangers, 4 very different stories. None of them could have imagined that one day they would trust each other with their lives. After a few more moments of quiet conversation, Rowan finally pushed himself away from the bed.
Well, sitting in here isn't going to earn us any coin.
Bam nodded enthusiastically.
And I'd quite like to eat tomorrow.
Lucan gave a small nod.
I'll go and find supplies.
Cassian rose from his bed, pulling his hood a little lower.
I'll come into town.
Without another word, the four stepped back out into the cool evening air. Stonecross was still alive with activity despite the fading daylight. For a while, they wandered together, taking in the sights of their new home before naturally drifting apart. Rowan, Bam, and Cassian headed deeper into the village in search of work. Lucan quietly broke away on his own. The evening bustle of Stonecross gradually faded behind Lucan as he wandered deeper into the settlement alone. While the others had drifted toward the heart of the village in search of work and conversation, Lucan found himself following quieter streets, his eyes taking in every building, every face, every narrow alley that branched away from the main road. He had never been one to waste time. If he intended to survive on the Ashen Coast, he would need supplies. The sign eventually caught his eye. A weathered wooden coin purse hung beneath a pair of crossed oars, gently swaying in the sea breeze. The trader's post. The building itself looked as though it had been assembled from whatever timber the sea had chosen to surrender. Ship planks, driftwood, and rough-cut lumber formed uneven walls that had clearly been repaired more than once. Crates overflowed with rope, barrels, fishing nets, and sacks of grain, while strings of dried fish swung lazily beneath the awning. Lucan pushed open the heavy door. A small brass bell chimed overhead. The smell of salt, old parchment, and exotic spices greeted him before anything else. Inside, every inch of wall space was lined with shelves overflowing with goods. Coils of rope hung beside iron tools, bundles of dried herbs shared space with nails, lantern oil, cookware, and countless other necessities brought across the sea from the Empire. Behind a broad wooden counter stood a man with thinning brown hair and a neatly trimmed beard streaked with gray. He looked up from a large ledger almost instantly. The smile that spread across his face was welcoming enough, though his eyes instinctively flicked to Lucan's equipment before settling back on his face. Years of trading had taught Harlan Doran exactly how much a customer might be worth.
Well now,
The shopkeeper said cheerfully, closing the ledger with a gentle thud.
a new face. I don't believe we've had the pleasure.
Lucan stopped before the counter.
I'm looking for a few healing potions.
Harlan's smile barely faltered.
Straight to business. I like that.
He rested both hands upon the counter before shaking his head.
Afraid you've come to the wrong shop if it's magic you're after.
He lifted one finger and pointed toward the northern edge of the village.
You'll want the Lantern House. Edrin Hollow runs it. Quiet fellow. Strange as they come. But if anyone in Stonecross has proper healing drafts, it'll be him.
Lucan gave a single nod.
I'll head there next.
As he turned to leave, something resting upon a nearby shelf caught his attention. A tightly rolled map. He paused.
What's that?
Harlan followed his gaze before carefully retrieving the parchment. He unrolled it across the counter with obvious care, smoothing the corners flat.
The Ashen Coast. Not the finest map ever drawn. But it'll stop you wandering into places folk usually don't come back from.
Lucan studied the faded ink. Stonecross, the Ashenwood, ancient roads, ruined watchtowers, a coastline still only partially explored, exactly the sort of thing every traveler should carry.
How much?
The merchant named his price. Lucan reached into a leather pouch without complaint, counting the coins onto the counter. Harlan gathered them with practiced speed before rolling the map once more and handing it across.
A wise purchase. Information's worth more than steel around these parts.
Lucan secured the map beneath the straps on his pack before giving a respectful nod.
My thanks.
The bell rang softly once again as he stepped back into the evening air. The lantern house stood apart from the rest of Stonecross. Where the village's buildings had been raised from practical necessity, this place seemed almost forgotten by time. Its crooked black stone walls leaned at impossible angles beneath weathered driftwood beams, while dozens upon dozens of lanterns hung from every rafter and window. Some burned with warm amber flames, others shimmered pale blue, several glowed green. One lantern burned with a deep crimson light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Lucan paused outside for only a moment before pushing open the door. Another bell chimed. This one sounded softer, almost musical. The interior was quiet. Shelves held crystal vials, dried flowers, curious stones and objects whose purpose Lucan couldn't even begin to guess. Behind the counter stood a lone tiefling, ash-gray skin, small worn horns, white hair that seemed permanently untidy. One golden eye watched Lucan with quiet curiosity. The other remained clouded, almost blind. The tiefling slowly closed the old leather-bound book resting before him.
You seek something.
His voice was calm, measured, almost unsettling in its softness.
Healing potions, if you have them.
Edrin regarded him silently for several long seconds. Not suspicious, simply studying him. Finally, he disappeared through a curtain at the rear of the shop. Only the strange lanterns disturbed the silence, their colored light dancing gently across the walls. A few moments later, he returned carrying 3 small crimson vials. Without ceremony, he placed them upon the counter.
Fresh. Reliable. They'll do their work.
Lucan counted out the required coins. As Edrin gathered them, he spoke once more.
You've only just arrived.
It wasn't a question.
No.
Then I hope you won't need these too soon.
A faint smile tugged at the corner of Lucan's mouth.
I hope so too.
The tiefling simply inclined his head. No farewell, no attempt at further conversation. Lucan slipped the potions safely into his pack before stepping back outside. The evening had deepened while he'd been inside. Lanterns now illuminated the streets of Stonecross, their warm glow spilling across damp cobbles as laughter drifted from somewhere farther down the road. The Keel house. His companions would no doubt have finished their own wandering by now. Adjusting the shield across his back, Lucan set off towards the welcoming lights of the tavern, disappearing into the evening crowds of Stonecross. An enormous trading vessel, long since claimed by the sea, now rested permanently upon heavy stone foundations overlooking the docks. Warm lights spilled from every window, while sailors, fishermen, and travelers crowded around weathered tables outside, raising tankards beneath strings of glowing lanterns. It was alive. If Stonecross had a heart, this was surely it. Lucan climbed the short wooden steps and pushed open the heavy door. Warmth greeted him immediately. The scent of roasted meat, fresh bread, and spilled ale filled the air. Every floorboard creaked beneath the weight of countless boots, the old ship still groaning softly as though it remembered the sea. Curved oak timbers arched overhead, patched together with driftwood and decorated with faded sails, coils of rope and rusted anchors collected over decades. Glass fishing floats, filled with glowing oil hung from the ceiling, bathing the tavern in a warm, golden light. Long communal tables stretched across the room, packed shoulder to shoulder with sailors swapping stories, merchants arguing over prices, and travelers enjoying the end of another long day. At the far end stood the bar. Lucan paused only briefly as something beside the doorway caught his attention. A weathered wooden sign had been nailed to one of the old support beams. Fight night. Every Friday and Saturday. Sign up at the bar. The corner of Lucan's mouth twitched into the faintest of smiles. Tomorrow. He made his way towards the counter. Behind it stood a woman who looked as though she'd spent half her life at sea. Her black hair, streaked heavily with gray, had been tied back beneath a faded strip of red cloth. Sharp, green eyes assessed every customer the moment they approached. Her broad shoulders and weathered hands spoke of years hauling rope and surviving storms. One hand was missing 2 fingers. The old injury didn't seem to trouble her in the slightest. She was polishing a tankard when Lucan stopped before her. Without looking up, she spoke.
Looking for a room? Or looking for trouble?
Lucan nodded towards the sign.
The fight.
She finally looked up. A grin tugged at one corner of her mouth.
I thought you might.
Without another word, she slid a thick leather ledger across the counter. Lucan took the quill and wrote carefully across the page. Lucan Stormbreaker. She glanced at the name before taking the book back.
You're in.
She closed the ledger with a firm thud.
Just try not to break my tavern.
Lucan allowed himself another faint smile.
I'll do my best.
The innkeeper chuckled.
No promises then.
Leaving the bar, Lucan allowed his eyes to wander across the crowded room. A bard was attempting an old sea shanty near the fireplace, while half a dozen drunken sailors enthusiastically sang entirely different words. Dice clattered across one table. Somewhere nearby, someone erupted into cheers after winning an arm wrestling contest. Tankards crashed together. Stories grew taller with every drink. For the first time since arriving in Stonecross, the village felt less like an isolated frontier settlement and more like home. Then, across the room, he spotted them. Rowan lounged comfortably at one of the larger tables, already halfway through a mug of ale. Baum sat opposite him, animatedly explaining something using both hands, despite neither of the others appearing to understand a word. Cassian remained exactly as Lucan expected. Quiet. Hood lowered, watching the room more than the conversation. Lucan crossed the tavern and took the empty seat beside them. Rowan looked up first.
There he is. Took your time.
Lucan rested his shield beside the table.
Had a few things to collect.
Bam leaned forward immediately.
Oh? What did you find?
The trader's post sold me a map of the Ashen Coast.
Lucan tapped the rolled parchment secured beneath his pack.
Then I visited the Lantern House. I bought 3 healing potions.
Rowan gave an approving nod.
Planning ahead.
Lucan shrugged.
Planning to survive.
Bam laughed loudly.
A surprisingly sensible answer.
Cassian simply took another sip from his drink. Rowan reached into his coat before unfolding a worn sheet of parchment across the table.
We didn't find potions, but we did find this.
He turned the notice board towards Lucan.
Looks like Stonecross has no shortage of people needing help.
Lucan studied the collection of notices carefully, reading each one in silence. After a long moment, he gave a single nod.
We'll have work tomorrow.
The conversation drifted from there. Stories became easier. The drinks continued to flow. For the first time that day, the four strangers no longer felt quite so unfamiliar. As the evening wore on, the tavern slowly emptied. One by one, sailors disappeared into the night. The music softened, the laughter faded. Eventually, Rowan stretched and stood.
We should probably get some sleep.
Bam climbed reluctantly from his chair.
I was just beginning to enjoy myself.
You've been enjoying yourself for the last 3 hours,
Rowan replied. Lucan retrieved his shield. Cassian quietly rose without a word. Together, the four of them stepped back into the cool night air. The streets of Stonecross had grown quieter. Lanterns still flickered gently above the cobbled roads as they made their way back towards their small lodge on the edge of the village. Tomorrow would bring work. For now, sleep awaited. The lodge lay silent. Outside, Stonecross slept beneath a blanket of darkness as the last embers of evening faded beyond the sea. Inside, only the soft crackle of the dying hearth disturbed the stillness. Then, a bell rang. One slow, heavy toll echoed across the village. A second followed, then another. Faster this time. Urgent. The unmistakable sound of an alarm. Cassian's eyes opened instantly. Years of surviving by instinct had taught him never to ignore the sound of panic. He was already sitting upright as shouting drifted through the open window. To arms. Kobolds! The East Road. Another frantic bell rang through the night. The others stirred almost immediately. Rowan pushed himself from his bed, still blinking away sleep. Bam muttered something under his breath as he searched for his goggles. Lucan was already reaching for his shield. Within moments, the four companions hurried outside. The cool night air struck them immediately. Stonecross had transformed. Villagers rushed between buildings carrying lanterns. Doors slammed open. Children cried somewhere in the distance. The alarm bell continued to ring above it all. Then came the screams. From the center of the village. Without hesitation, they ran. The narrow streets blurred past as they followed the sound of the commotion. Ahead, 2 Crown's guards sprinted towards the fighting, swords already drawn. Then, a sharp whistle cut through the air. An arrow struck the leading guard squarely in the shoulder. He cried out and collapsed onto one knee. The second guard grabbed him beneath the arm without breaking stride. Move! He dragged the wounded soldier behind the large stone fountain, standing in the center of the crossroads. The 4 companions reached them seconds later, diving behind the same cover as another volley of arrows slammed into the stone. Fragments chipped from the fountain's edge. Silence followed, only for a heartbeat. Lucan carefully peered around the worn stone. A long street stretched ahead between rows of timber buildings. At its far end stood a tall watchtower. Another arrow streaked from one of its upper windows.
There,
Rowan narrowed his eyes.
the tower.
Cassian looked elsewhere. His gaze climbed the rooftops, his instincts searching for another way. Lucan tightened his grip upon his axe. Then, a low scratching sound echoed from one of the nearby buildings. The front door burst open. A snarling kobold rushed into the street, crude blade raised high. Lucan didn't hesitate. He charged. Cassian peeled away from the fountain, disappearing into the darkness along the right-hand side of the street. He scaled the nearest building with practiced ease, boots finding narrow ledges between the timber beams. Within moments, he lay hidden behind the peak of the roof. One silent leap carried him onto the next rooftop. He settled behind another ridge and slowly drew his short bow. Below him, the battle had begun. Lucan met the charging kobold head-on. Steel crashed against crude iron. The creature hissed as Lucan's axe carved deep into its shoulder. Before it could recover, another kobold burst from a nearby doorway. Then another. More shapes emerged from the surrounding buildings. The ambush had revealed itself. Behind the fountain, Rowan stepped into view. He stretched out a hand. A bead of orange flame formed in his palm. With a sharp motion, he released it. The firebolt streaked through the darkness and smashed into the tower. For an instant, the entire upper floor erupted with brilliant orange light. 3 kobold archers became visible. One staggered backwards as the flames engulfed him before collapsing onto the floor. Then the darkness returned. Arrows answered almost immediately. One struck the fountain, another ricocheted from the stone. A third found Bam just as he stepped into the open. The gnome cried out as the arrow tore into his shoulder, forcing him back behind cover, high above the street. Cassian calmly drew his bow. He exhaled. Released, the arrow disappeared into the darkness below. One charging kobold dropped instantly, tumbling face first onto the cobbles. Cassian had already reached for another arrow before the body stopped moving. 3 more kobolds rushed the fountain together. Bam grimaced through the pain. He reached into the countless pouches hanging from his belt, scattering strange brass fittings, enchanted bolts, and tiny crystal fragments across the cobbles before him. The collection of parts began to glow. Metal folded, wood twisted, arcane energy surged. Within seconds, a compact eldritch cannon stood where the pile of scrap had been. Its barrel snapped towards the advancing kobolds. A thunderous blast echoed through the street. The nearest kobold was hurled backwards, lifeless before it struck the ground. The remaining 2 charged on, regardless. Rowan raised both hands. The air around him turned deathly cold. A wave of freezing mist erupted outward in a wide cone. Ice raced across the cobblestones. The 2 kobolds froze where they stood before collapsing without another sound. Further down the street, Lucan fought in the center of the chaos. His shield absorbed one blow. His axe answered with another. Every swing forced another kobold back. Every step carried him deeper into the battle. From above, Cassian's arrows continued to fall with deadly precision, each shot relieving the pressure on the barbarian below. Another arrow screamed from the tower. It struck Bam across the arm. He stumbled, growled, then turned his eldritch cannon skyward.
Let's see how you like this.
The cannon roared. Its blast smashed into the upper section of the watchtower. Stone exploded outward. Timbers shattered. The entire top of the tower collapsed in a shower of rubble and splintered wood. Before Bam could celebrate, a kobold lunged from the shadows. The gnome barely had time to draw his weapon before the 2 collided. The battle raged for only a few minutes more. One by one, the kobolds fell beneath axe, arrow, spell, and steel. The few survivors glanced nervously towards the ruined tower, then fled into the darkness from which they had come. Silence slowly returned to Stonecross, broken only by the crackling of burning timber and the labored breathing of 4 adventurers who had survived their very first battle on the Ashen Coast.
morning sun climbs o'er the hill, the embers fade to grey. Another road awaits our boots, another breaking day. The landlord waves the stables full, the coffee's warm and strong. We've barely left the tavern door, yet hear the old road song. The road calls again, though we scarcely know where. With a pack on our back and the wind in our hair, raise a smile to the friends that we leave for a while. For every mile we wander brings us home another mile. Some seek fortune, some seek fame, some chase dragons bold. Some just wonder where the path has never yet been told. A map may fade, a bridge may fall, the weather may turn cold, but every fire beside the road is worth more than gold. The road calls again, past the rivers and pines, past forgotten old ruins and weathered old signs. Every sunrise ahead, every campfire behind, leaves another fine story for the next tavern to find. We've shared our bread with strangers, we've laughed beside the flame. By morning they are traveling on, though we may never know their name. A tankard shared, a song well sung can make the shortest friend. For every tale begins somewhere and none knows where they'll end. The forest whispers ancient songs, the mountains kiss the sky. The sea forever calls the brave where white-winged seabirds fly. The world is wide beyond the hills with wonder still unseen. Every path we choose to walk holds places in between. The road calls again with its promise untold of forgotten old kingdoms and treasures of old. Though tomorrow's uncertain night, we've laughed and smiled for every wandering traveler where we'll always roam a while. When silver fills our aging hair and slower grow our feet, we'll still recall the winding roads and everyone we'd meet. We'll tell our tales beside the fire until the candles fade, of every friend the road once gave and every choice we made. The road calls again, as it always has done, past the moon in the night, past the rise of the sun. So fill every mug, sing loud all around, for no matter where life leads, the road will be found. The road calls again, and we'll answer once more.